Okay, a little bit more information here just about the operation of After Effects for those of you that are new to it. I get a lot of questions about, so when you first create a composition, it will sort of randomly select how long it is. And you can see that this one is 18 seconds long. Also notice as I zoom in, now it's telling me frames, not seconds. Okay, so just be aware of as you zoom in and out, you're looking at different things, and it might be a little bit wonky as far as what you're looking at. This right here is the frame count of, notice as I drag the playhead back and forth, you'll notice that the time here changes as well. And you can drag just like the other blue thing left and right. So let's say you want to go to a different time, you can just drag or type in the number, and then it will go to that spot. So that's a helpful thing to understand. Another thing that I want you to pay attention to is if you needed to change the running time of your composition window. So if I select the comp window and say composition and then go to where it says composition settings, you tend to do this quite a bit. So if you go to composition settings, you'll see what we set up at the beginning here, but the duration. So if you need it to be longer than what you first allocated it as, it's very easy to just go ahead and just say, I'm going to add another minute to the comp. And then I have a much longer comp that I can work within. Again, remember your work area versus your length of the comp. So let's say this is all we really need, but if you render out the length of the comp, then you're going to have this giant amount of black space, which is very unprofessional, and it's going to create a very large file with largely nothing in it but black video. Okay, so that's the comp windows. Now the other thing I want to show you, which is just I'm just touching the surface of what effects are available. Okay, I'm going to turn off the motion blur for a minute. So every single layer, if you click a layer and you go underneath where it says effects, you've got all these various effects to play around with, and that do different things. And I'm not going to go through this course. We're not going to go through all of them, but we're certainly going to use a lot of them. And you're going to probably have questions, how do I do X, Y, and Z? And you'll have to kind of find that out or ask me how to do things. I would say that you can probably figure out most of the things that you need to do online, but I'm happy to help you figure it out as well if it's possible to do within After Effects. Okay, and so let's go ahead and import. First of all, how do you apply effect? So let's take an effect, and you select the layer, and you can do it a couple of ways. You go underneath the effect, and then maybe let's go to something obvious and ugly like distort. And I'm going to say, so what we're going to do is we're going to select a layer. And there's a lot of different ways of doing this. If you know exactly what it is you're looking for, you can come underneath where it says effects and presets, and let's say I wanted to type in mirror. Okay, and I apply a mirror, and now I have that mirror effect, and then I'm going to drag it over the layer I want to apply it to. Okay, when you apply a layer, an effect to a layer, you'll see now underneath where you have your media, this little arrow over here shows you, like, am I looking at the project window where I have all my assets, or do I want to look at the effect controls? And so I'm going to look at the effect controls, and then I can change things as I want to. So like this effect here has got this mirror thing going on with it, and so it's kind of silly, but you can kind of get ideas. So that's just one effect that you can do. And there's 100 of them or 1,000 of them. So let's go ahead and just pick another one. I'm going to do it a little bit differently now. I'm going to select this layer. I'm going to go to Effect. Let's go ahead and add, let's see here, color correction. Let's go ahead and select Levels. Okay, and so now I still have the mirror here, and notice that little Effects button. If I turn that on and off, this is helpful because this way you can kind of see before and after without changing it or removing it from your effects window. If you want to remove it, just click on the name and hit delete. If you don't mind it living there, just turn off the effects button. But what I want to show you here in Levels is a really good tool for fixing photographs and images. So you can change all sorts of content for color correction, which doesn't mean that much when we're looking at this little spaceman guy, but we have a lot of tools that we use with levels. Another one that I use all the time is called curves. So I'm going to select curves and put that maybe on this guy. Okay, and so now on curves I can drag this up and down, and I can make things darker and lighter and do different things with them as well. And if I want to get rid of it, I just select the word curves and hit delete. Okay, and now if I go back to the project, I have that. If I select the layer that has an effect on it, I have options to look at the project or the effects. Okay, so this is more or less just an operational thing. I'm not going to get too much into effects right now because there's so many of them and it's really specific to what you want to do, but I do recommend that you try them out. Okay. The other thing I want to talk to you is about this composition window here. So a lot of people make this mistake, and to this day I still do this all the time. And so it's something that you're going to do, and you're going to make, and you're not going to know what's going on. So let's say you double-click this thing here, and that I double-clicked that layer on the timeline, and it launched this layer window. Okay. So you can't see your composition window anymore. And so a lot of people are like, where'd my comp go? Where did it go? Where did it go? It's still here. You just have to select it. So there's a layer window and there's a comp window. The layer window is where you edit layers and you can add animations and masks and lots of different things. But when you're just looking at your composition, and as a reminder, a composition is a series of layers that interact with one another to create a new imagery, like what we've done right here, where this layer is like just this guy. Okay, so that's one of the things I want you to be aware of as well. Okay, the layer window and the composition window, and just killing it by turning it off, and it doesn't remove it from this layer over here. Okay, these eyeballs over here just sort of activate and deactivate those layers so you can see them or not. So if you want those gone, you can just turn them off.